Alright guys, so in your table of contents, mine fell on page 77. Y'all put whatever page you are on. Again, we're still factoring trinomials, but this time we're going to move to where it's a coefficient greater than 1. So that means your numbers are not just going to start with a letter. They're now going to have a number in the front. So once you have that written, if you would, go ahead and pause and write those for me. I'm going to make this a 2 video, so this will be the first video, and then we have some more examples that we'll do on the next page for the second video. Okay, when you're factoring trinomials with a coefficient greater than 1, we use a method called the box method. Now, there are several methods to learn this, but this is the one that we have found seems to be the easiest. So it'll take some practice to get used to, but just try it and see how it goes. Okay, so the box method. What we're going to do is you're going to draw a box, and you're going to put the first term in the first box. You're going to put the last term in the last box. We're still going to do our multiply and add tables, but they change on how we multiply now. Now, your add term is still the middle term, your B. But now you must multiply your A and your C term to get the product. So your M term will be the first times the last. So here's what you're just going to do for every problem. It's kind of similar to biology with Punnett squares. When you have 2x squared plus 5x plus 3, you're going to create a 2 by 2 box. And you need to leave yourself enough room to write on top of it and beside it. Okay, from here, you're going to put the first term in the first box, and you're going to put the last term in the last box. So first and first, last and last. Now you're going to come over to the side, and we're going to do our add and our multiply. To add, you pull the middle, so 5. To multiply, you add the first and the second, so 6. Okay, I'm going to put in my factors for 6, so 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and I'm going to read my signs. A plus in the back tells me signs are the same, and a plus in the front tells me they're all positive, so I don't need to change anything. So I'm looking for the one that adds to 5, which is 2 and 3. So now that you have that, when you put them in the box, you're going to put in a 2x, and you're going to put in a 3x. We just take our numbers and add the letter that we're working with. So since we're wanting to add to 5x, we have to have x's included. Okay, now here is how this works. You're pretty much just dividing. So you're going to look at this first box, 2x squared, and I'm going to split it up. I know x squared can split with x and x. Okay, now this 2, my multiples of 2 are 1 and 2. Now, 2, you have to decide, can 2 go into 3 or can 2 go into 2? Since 2 can go into 2, you have to put it in line with that box. So I put a 2 right here. And then that means this is a 1 because 2 times 1 would be 2x squared. So like when you multiply these, 2x times x, that should give me 2x squared. Now you're doing 2x times what will give you 2x. And if you do this, 2x times 1, and it'll be a positive 1. So now I'm going to do 2x times 1. That gives me 2x. Okay, since I have an x on the top, x times what will give me 3x. Well, x times 3 gives me 3x. And then your last two boxes, you bring them together. So 3 times 1 should be 3. And if it is, it checks and it works. So your factors are x plus 1 and 2x plus 3. And that's your answer. Okay, for the next one, I have 5m squared minus 17m plus 6. So I'm going to draw my 2 by 2 box. First term in the first spot. Last term in the last spot. I'm going to put my add term is negative 17, and my multiply term will be 30. Okay, factors of 30 are 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. A plus sign in the back tells me signs are the same, and they are both negative according to the minus in the front, so I make everything negative. Okay, now that everything is negative, I'm going to look to find the two numbers that add to negative 17, which is negative 2 and negative 15. I'm going to put them in. It doesn't matter where you put them in. I'm going to put in a negative 2m and a negative 15m. Okay, for this problem, I'm going to go ahead and split the m squared, m and m. And now I need my multiples of 5. Well, the only way to multiply 5 is 1 and 5. And 5 cannot go into 2. It can only go into 15. So I'm going to put the 5 at the top. Okay, I'm going to put my little time sign now because I'm going to do m times what gives me negative 2m. Well, m times negative 2 would give me negative 2m. And now I have to do 5m times what will give me negative 15m, and that would be negative 3. And then I check my last box is negative 3 times negative 2, positive 6, which it is. So my factors are going to be 5m minus 2 and m minus 3. Okay, for example 3, I have 6y squared minus 5y minus 4. I'm going to make my box. Okay, first term, first box, last term, last box. I need to add to the middle, which is negative 5. I need to multiply to 6 times negative 4, which is negative 24. Factors of negative 24, I would have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Okay, from here, a minus in the back tells me that my signs are opposite and that the big number has to be negative, so I make my right column negative. And the one that adds to negative 5 is 3 and negative 8. So I'm going to put in a 3y, and I'm going to put in a negative 8y. Okay, now, here's where it can get really tricky. 6 can split two ways. I know to split the y squared, but 6 can become 1 and 6, or it can become 2 and 3. If you notice, though, if you use 1 and 6, 6 cannot go into 3, and 6 cannot go into 8. So we're not going to use 1 and 6. So we're going to use 2 and 3. So you have to figure out which one 2 can go into and which one 3 can go into. 2 can't go into 3, so I don't put it in line with 3. I put it in line with 8. So that means 3 goes in line with 3. So now I put my time sign. 3y times what is 3y? Well, that would be 1. 2y times what is negative 8y? Well, that would be negative 4. And then check yourself, is negative 4 times 1 negative 4? If it is, your factors are 2y plus 1 and 3y minus 4. Okay. For number 4, I have 12c squared plus 11c minus 5. I'm going to open up my box. First term, first box. Last term, last box. Okay, I must add to the middle, which is 11. I must multiply to negative 60. Okay, multiples of 60. I got 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. Okay, since I have a minus sign in the back, I know my signs are opposite, and the plus sign tells me that the big number is positive, so I'm going to make all my small numbers negative. And I'm going to find the one that adds to 11, and that's negative 4 and 15. I put in a negative 4c and a 15c. Okay, for 12c squared, I'm going to go ahead and split c and c. Now, for 12, I'm going to write it over here where I have some room, and I'll change color so you can see it. For 12, we could use 1 and 12. We could use 2 and 6, or we could use 3 and 4. What I would do is start with the inside ones, your two that are closest to each other, because we already know 12 isn't going to go into 15. So I would start with your two that are closest to each other, 3 and 4, and see if 3 can go into one of them and if 4 can go into the other, which they can. So what I would do is use 3 and 4. I know 3 can go into 15, and I know 4 can go into 4. So I'm going to put the 4 in line with 4, the 3 in line with 15. Put my time sign, and now I'm figuring out my multiples. So 4c times what gives me negative 4c, and that would be a negative 1. 3c times what gives me a 15c, and that would be a 5. I need to check to see if 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, which it is. So my factors are 3c minus 1 times 4c plus 5. Now, if you were to have picked like 2 and 6 and you couldn't get it to work, you would just have to change your factors here. Okay, 2 more examples. I got 2x squared plus 17x minus 9. Drawing my box. I put in 2x squared. I put in negative 9. I must add to 17, and I need to multiply to negative 18. So 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Minus in the back tells me signs are opposite and that the big number is positive, so I'm going to make all the small ones negative. And the one that adds to a positive 17 would be negative 1 and 18. So I'm going to put in negative 1x, and I'm going to put in 18x. I'm going to split my x squared, and I need a 2. So I got to figure out if 2 can go into 18 or if 2 can go into 1. 2 can go into 18, so I put it in line with 18. And now I do my multiplication. X times what is negative 1x? Well, that would be negative 1. 2x times what is 18x? Well, that would be 9. Check to make sure you're right. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. So my factors are 2x minus 1 and x plus 9. Okay, for 6, we have 4a squared minus 4a plus 1. Drawing my 2 by 2 box. Putting first term in first box, last term in last box. I must add to negative 4, and I must multiply to positive 4 when I multiply. Okay, so 1 and 4, 2 and 2. Plus sign tells me my signs are the same, and a minus tells me they're both negative. Okay, so now the only one that adds to negative 4 would be negative 2, negative 2. So I put in a negative 2a, a negative 2a. I'm going to split my a squared. Now for 4, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can do 1 times 4, you can do 2 times 2. Remember, always start with the ones closest to each other because we already know 4 can't go into those. So I'm just going to go ahead and split and put a 2a and a 2a. 2a times what is negative 2a? Well, that would be negative 1. 2a times what is negative 2a? And that would be negative 1 again. And is negative 1 times negative 1, 1? It is. So my factors are 2a minus 1 times 2a minus 1. Or you could just write 2a minus 1 squared. Okay, if you have questions, let me know.